and welcome to the Business of Being a Virtual Assistant. I'm your host and virtual coworker, Tiffany Parson, and you're listening and watching episode number 141. Now, today's show is an answer to a listener question, and I wanted to answer it on the podcast because I feel like she is probably not the only one wondering about this, and it's all related to transitioning from working a regular full-time day job into being a full-time virtual assistant. This is the answer to your question, Renee. Now, here's Renee's exact question. Have you ever done a training video on transitioning from a regular day job to being full-time virtual assistant? My computer's over here, so I'm reading it. As you know, building clientele can take some time, and I'm not as savvy as I'd like to be when responding to potential clients about my non-traditional work hours, since I have a day job and am virtual assisting on the side for now. Any guidance you can provide would be great. Thanks. Okie doke. So here's the answer to Renee's question and your question that you didn't even get a chance to ask yet. I wanted to jot down a couple of notes. I have talked about this in the past on the podcast, but I know it's probably been at least a year or two, and I would have to dig around the archives. Plus, there's some things that I need to add on to it. So, hang tight. If I say something you've heard before, you probably need to hear it again. So here's the thing. And one of the things I want you to take note of when you're working full-time and building your virtual assistant business on the side, I encourage you to do both. So that "and" is in all caps. Working full-time and doing a virtual assistant business, or you're working part-time and building your virtual assistant business. Here's the deal. You have to be careful not to take on projects or clients that expects for you to answer, be available during the time that you're working. Whatever your time is, whether it's 9 to 5, 8 to 5, 3 to 12, whatever your schedule is, you cannot take on clients like that. For example, email support. If they've got email support and they expect you to answer emails from 8 to 5 Eastern Standard Time, but those are your work hours, you cannot take on that client. You can't take on that project. You have to move on to something else that is not dependent on a time. And so you may be wondering, okay, well, Tiffany, what exactly would that be? I'm so glad you asked me. So here are some things that you can do that are deadline specific versus time specific. That's what you want when you're working a job. Regardless of being full-time or part-time, you want the projects, you want the clients that are deadline focused. For example, scheduling social media, creating social media content, creating images for social media, bookkeeping, doing their transcriptions, doing, I said social media, I was gonna say Pinterest, but that would include all things social media, things related to their blog. Scheduling their blog posts, formatting their blog posts, looking up images, doing a little SEO for them on their blog. I was going to say answering questions on Facebook, but not so much. That may be time dependent as well. But things with specific deadlines, okay? Not during your working time. And you don't have to explain to a client, well, I work a full-time job and then I do my virtual assistant business on the side. In all my time working as a virtual assistant, no one's ever asked me that. Because if I'm responding to something, a request that is time specific or deadline specific, it's up to me to know whether that's something I can do. If it's something you can't do, you don't have to explain why you can't. Think about it this way. That time could already be reserved for a client that you have. And the new client doesn't know. Maybe you're working your business full-time already and you already have a client that has you on a time-specific project or task every day, and that time is blocked off for that client. So if a new client came along, you wouldn't say, well, I already got this client that, I do that. No, you would work around your project. So think about your job currently as though it were another client. Let me say that again. Think of your current employer as a client. Instead of thinking that you have non-traditional hours for your virtual assistant business, non-traditional to whom? We're virtual assistants. We work when we want to work. If we want to work on Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, Friday night, whenever, it's based on our schedule, correct? So there is no such thing as non-traditional in your world. Forget about it. And think of your employer as your client. That may even change your approach to your current job. If someone's out there and they're hating to go to work, they're dreading it, they don't like it, think about your employer as if they were a client. Because I bet the same thing you're providing for your employer, you could provide for a client as well. Okay? So you don't have to explain your hours. Go for services that are not time dependent. Okay, and let me know if you have a question about that. If you're not sure or there's something you're thinking about would be time dependent. You want something that is deadline based. Okay? If you see something out there and you are, oh, the description is great, it's great, it's great. And then they say, well, we want you to be available from 8 to 5 Pacific time. But that's during the time that you work. You have to move on to another person, move on to another request, okay? All right, so let's talk about the transition. That takes care of the non-traditional hours and what you say and all that stuff. So don't worry about that. If your client wants to schedule a time to talk to you on the phone, work it around your existing client, which is your employer. So you could do it during your lunch hour. You can do it after work, before work. Okay? And again, you don't have to explain. It's just when you're available. I've had clients schedule appointments early in the morning, lunchtime, because remember, clients work as well. Clients work as well, so they are working around their work schedule also, okay? So early morning, lunch, after work. Okay, let's talk about building a clientele. That does take time because you can have a set number of clients that get you started, but those may not be the set clients that you maintain over a course of time. Being in this business for 10 years, the clients that I have now are not the same clients that I had when I started. I'm trying to think, they're not even the same clients I had 5 years ago. Your roster of clients will change. It will grow, it will increase, it will decrease, it will expand, however you want it to happen. Keep in mind, you're gonna always be marketing yourself so you're not in a dry spell. And it does happen. There are dry moments. I've had dry moments and it is scary, but at the same time, you know that the balls are in your court. You have control to turn things around. You know what to do to turn things around. You put yourself out there, you market, you let people know. There are people that still don't know what virtual assistants can do for them. Okay. Building your clientele. So just important to know who you start with won't be the same 5 years down the road. They might not, but don't expect them to be. Always be marketing. Always. I can't stress to you enough because I had stopped marketing and then I had a shift in clients. One person decided they were closing their business. Someone else was going to get employees instead. Another person was moving. Other people, the project ended and so on and so forth. Things happen. But if we're always marketing ourselves, even if your plate is full, this is going to sound crazy. I want you to still market yourself. Even if your plate is full, even if you're working full time and you can only take on 2 clients, always be marketing. Have you ever heard of a such thing as a wait list? Have you ever heard of that? A wait list. Yes, you can have a wait list. And if you're always marketing, just think about this. By the time someone has made up their mind that they're ready to bring on a VA, that they know what they want you to help with, they're ready, they have the budget for you, all that good stuff, you may have room right there in your pipeline to fit them right in. And if you don't, guess what? You have a wait list, and you can let them know based on your calendar what's going on, when another open slot will be. They can choose to wait for you or not. If it's a really popular restaurant, everyone goes to it, they're known to have the best food in town, regardless of how much it is. If it's a place that you really want to go to, you've had your heart set on it, and there is a line out the door. The line out the door is the wait list. Guess what we do? We wait because we want the best. And that is what those clients that want to work with you will do. They'll wait. And they'll be excited because the person they want to work with, everybody wants to work with them. They are the hot thing. So don't be afraid to have that wait list. Nobody has to know how many clients you're currently working with. Who asked that? Nobody. Nobody has to know how many people on your wait list. Nobody has to know. Wait lists can be used for when your pipeline is full. It can also be used for when you're not quite ready to launch a service, but you want to put it out there to start marketing it just to see if there's an interest. You can have a wait list for that as well. All right, let me see what else. Let's talk about some things that are a little mind shift when you go from being a full-time, I like how Renee put it, a regular day job to being a full-time virtual assistant. The very first thing is this. This podcast is called The Business of Being a Virtual Assistant, which means the expectation for my listeners is that you are more than someone's virtual assistant, that you are a virtual assistant business owner. This is why instead of calling my Inner Circle program Inner Circle or Circle or whatever, I want it to be very clear. Virtual Assistant Business Owners Circle. Everyone in our industry doesn't consider themselves business owners. I've even seen where some people comment, just a virtual assistant, I'm a virtual assistant. No. Business owner, you're a business owner. You're in charge of the whole thing. You find clients, you do the work, you send out invoices, you collect the payments, you do everything. You're a business owner. So when you're going from being an employee to a business owner, there's a mindset shift that also has to take place in addition to building our clientele, in addition to making sure that we're seeking projects that we're able to handle within the schedule that we have, is shifting our thoughts, our mind to thinking like a boss. Not that you're telling people what to do, whatever, but no, boss meaning you call the shots. You call the shots. You decide the hours that you work. You decide who you work with. You decide when. You get to call it. When potential clients are talking to you and they say they're interviewing you, you're interviewing them as well. Everybody that comes through your virtual doors is not somebody that you want to work with. You get to decide. Here's the thing that is probably one of the hardest things when you're used to working full-time and you go to being full-time in your VA business. There isn't someone telling you what to do. Yes, you have clients, and yes, they have tasks that you want to do, and yes, you have deadlines. But there's nobody breathing over your shoulder, breathing over your neck, looking at your computer, asking you or telling you what needs to be done from 1 minute to the next. You create that for yourself. If it's Thursday and you know you've got something due, but it's not due until a week from now, you have all this time. It's up to you to decide, when are you going to get it done? Are you going to get it done sooner or later? There's nobody breathing over you, telling you what to do, or watching your every move. Nobody's watching how long you take a break. Nobody's watching how long you are away from your desk. Nobody's watching that. That's all on you. If we keep in mind, it's all on us. Everything is my responsibility. I'm the boss. I'm in charge of it all. It is scary, but it is rewarding. It's risky, but it's rewarding. The reward is high when you are it. So yeah, it's easy to say or think, I want to quit my job and start being a full-time VA. You want to be a full-time virtual assistant business owner. And yeah, you want to make sure you have enough money in savings to cover your expenses for 6 months. Now, granted, that's not something I did. I'm not patient enough to wait until I had saved 6 months worth of expenses before I left my job. Everybody is different. It would be nice to be able to do that, but the job I had and how much I was making, it would have taken forever. Really. Because I wasn't making enough to save and pay my bills, and the job that I had was making me physically ill. So ideally, I'll give you the ideal picture and then you paint your own from that. Ideally, and this is what is recommended, that you have 6 months worth of savings. That way you have time to build up your clientele. But I say build up your clientele while you're working the full-time job. So when your last day happens, the next morning, you're still working with your clients that you had, or you got new clients coming, or you got some discovery calls happening because you're always marketing. There's, you got things happening. Let me double check my notes. Here's something else that I wish that I didn't know. So one of the other questions that I get is about how much it costs to start a virtual assistant business. It's like you have your internet and your computer. And that's that. There are, on Upwork, it's got a paid option, or you can start with a free option, or you don't have to do Upwork at all. You could just, go with the people that let them know what you're doing. You could bump up your social media activity, do some things on LinkedIn. There are options out there for you to get clients and only have to pay for your internet and computer. I highly recommend Upwork though, because that is where a lot of people are, just to get you going, just to get you started, not for it to be your 100% place where you market yourself. I've met some great people on Upwork. But here's the other thing. There may be some unexpected things. For example, this is down the road as you're building your business and you want a website. Now you want a website. So I've gotten to the point where I don't like monthly payments. So, you can get the option for your web host where you pay monthly or you pay yearly. I like the yearly option because you can get it over with, get it done, not have to think about it until next year. So when you're signing up for different things, consider that if you can. So that, keeps you from having to worry about that monthly payment. Being able to just do the yearly. So much easier, so much easier. I didn't start out that way. Like I said, I didn't have the 6 month savings and all that stuff. It was just like go time for me. But I was single. I wasn't married. I just was taking care of me. Would I do it that way now that I'm married? We would have to agree. My husband and I would have to agree on what are the best steps would be for us. And that was the next thing I wrote down, family discussions. And I'm especially made a note of that because when, like I said, when I took my leap, I did not have a family. It was just me, and I didn't have to ask anybody. I just made the decision, and here we go. Jumped. But you want to have a family discussion as well. Not just with your spouse in regards to your money and the budget and all that stuff, but also as far as how it's going to look when you're working from home. If you have children, and if they're home during the day or not, how is that going to look? How will the family know the difference between mom working at the dining room table and mom being available to talk to, or mom being in her office versus mom being available to talk to? So you want to figure that out as well. When my husband is home and I'm home and I've got some client work to do, I let him know, okay, I'm going to be working on this. I've got a webinar, this, that, whatnot. So he knows what the layout looks like for the day, if he's also going to be around for the day, so that there's no interruptions and it's quiet. And he doesn't like to be home when I'm working anyway, so it makes it a whole lot easier. He'd be like, oh, I'm just going to go to the gym or whatever, or he's got his own meetings. My husband is a youth pastor, so his schedule is pretty loose, and his time is booked a lot of times in the evening. Okay, so we talked about that. I want to make sure I covered everything else. Start off with one service. This is going to sound crazy. Start off with one service. So when you're marketing, you can totally zoom in on that one thing. For example, let's say I'm going to use repurposing videos because that's what we're talking about in the Virtual Assistant Business Owner Circle this month. We're talking about repurposing videos and how you can provide this as a service for clients. Let's say that is something that you wanted to provide, and let's start out with that one service as your primary thing. And I mean, repurposing video, there's so much that you could do with that. So have that one service so you can have your pricing down for that one thing, so you know how to talk about it easily. It's just having that one focus. Then if you want to branch out to something else, email support, now you add that on, and now you've got that as your focus, because now you know you've got the repurposing the video down pat, you've got that going. Now you add on the other thing, and do it like that, where you're adding on one service at a time. That's if you have an idea of what you want to do. How realistic is that? I don't know, because I don't know where you are. You can let your one service be, what do you do at your job now? And lead with those things. If your responsibility is creating Excel reports and doing pivot tables, let that be your one thing. Show off what you can do. Show people how you can help them with those reports. And those reports could play into Google Analytics data. It could play into Facebook Insights data. It could play into those reports that you get from Hootsuite, bookkeeping, on and on. All right, so those are just some of my tips. If you're transitioning from a regular full-time job and going into full-time as a virtual assistant business owner. It's gonna be scary, it's gonna be risky, but it's gonna be worth it. When you do walk away and you have your first day as a full-time business owner, remember, you have the keys. You open and you close. You have the keys. Everything that happens between your open time and your close time is on you. The number of clients that walk through the door, the number of clients that walk out of the door, it's on you. It sounds like a hefty responsibility, and it is. Everybody doesn't want to go and hang their shingle up and put themselves out there. But if this is what your heart's desire is, I encourage you and to let you know that you can do it. Don't let any naysayers try to stop you from doing it or talk you off the ledge. Don't let them. If you feel yourself wavering a little bit, being a little nervous because, oh my gosh, they're bothering me about how am I going to get paid and how am I going to have health care and this and that and whatnot. The person that is saying all these things, are they a business owner? Have they ever started a business from scratch? And if they have, you listen to them and you apply their advice how you want to. If they have not, you tell them thank you and you jump. You go for it. I hope this has been helpful to you. You are amazing. I appreciate you for listening to this podcast episode. And if you've gotten this far in the episode, then you've got to get on the VIP email list. If you're listening to this episode, I want you to text 345-345. That's the number to text. The words I want you to text, VA start, like virtual assistant start. So VA start. You're going to text 345-345 and type in VA start. That is going to get you on the VIP list. I'm also going to give you my free guide, 15 known secrets to getting started as a virtual assistant. This way, you don't miss an episode. You don't miss any emails that I send out. And when I do free webinars, you don't miss a thing. And when I do special invites to hop in to the Virtual Assistant Business Owner Circle, you don't miss that as well. So I thank you so much for being a listener, whether this is your first time or your 100th time. You're awesome and amazing. Go do you.